Hi, so today I would like to focus on the cross symbolism, and we will mainly focus on the equilateral cross and the diagonal cross. So I will start with showing you some images and discuss the basics, and then I will come back with some personal stories with these two powerful cross symbols. So here we can see how the equilateral cross derives from the rhombus. And the diagonal cross from the square. So these four shapes are connected. And the equilateral cross, like the basic symbolism, is that it connects heaven and earth. Heaven being the vertical line and earth being the horizontal line. And crosses are the basic shapes of matter, because from crosses we can then construct more geometries, more shapes. We can see that the crossing of the vertical and horizontal lines brings forth dimension and shape. And so we could say it defines the physical reality. In astrology, the cross represents the unity of space and time, time being the horizontal line and space the vertical line. The crosses are among the most ancient symbols that were found all over the world in the Paleolithic cave art, and they were quite abundant in some of the oldest civilizations we know of in Europe, Indus Valley, Mesopotamia, Egypt, and so on. And along with the 6-pointed and 8-pointed stars, the crosses often represented the world tree or tree of life, where the vertical lines stand for the trunk and the horizontal ones stand for the roots and the branches that grow from it. And the world tree and the tree of life are kind of similar concepts. The tree of life is more about like healing and rejuvenation, and the world tree is more about traveling in between realms. But together it's like this one world tree of life that connects all this symbolism together. The equilateral cross also stands for the unity of the 5 basic elements, and the central crossing point is the 5th element, which is the source of the other 4 and everything else in the world. It's the 5th element. It could be compared to the ether or prana or chi or ki. The equilateral cross also recalls the compass and the worldly directions, including the fifth one, which is the eternal place within, the eternal here and now. We could say philosophically that the center of the cross is really the key to its mystery. It's the source, it's the point from which it arises, and all the other geometries arise from that one point we have to make before we start constructing. And for this reason, crosses make a great base for any meditation or contemplation, because it draws our attention to that center. And while the center of the cross grounds us in our center or in our inner eternity, its tips pin off uninvited energies. That's why crosses make perfect allies in repelling negativity. And the symbolism of the diagonal cross, here we can see the diagonal cross, is similar to the symbolism of the rune Gebo, one of the oldest runes, which means in translation gift from the gods. And it truly is a gift, because it helps us unveil our spiritual gifts, and it also helps us achieve connections with other beings from other realms, but also from this realm and this world. It's basically 2 lines connected, so 2 beings connected, and it supports our connection with loved ones or also with benevolent spirit guides. And the diagonal cross also helps us achieve a better connection with the parallel worlds, dimensions and timelines. And overall it just connects us to our divine gifts, such as the psychic gifts and other spiritual qualities. I have personally had some wonderful experiences with the cross symbols, especially when it comes to psychic shielding and protection. And I learned quite young about the dark side of the spirit world, and that not all spirits are good and benevolent. And when you are a sensitive individual, and when you do psychic work or medium work, you probably know that not all the spirits that come through mean well, and they are not all good. So it's really good for people who work with their psychic gifts and or do medium work or channeling to be aware of these spirits, and it really helps to remain protected and grounded when we do such works. And I learned the power of the cross for these purposes of shielding and remaining grounded when I was 16 years old, because that's when I went to visit this horrific place. It's an old Nazi concentration camp called Terezín here in Czechia. And one of our dear family friends, Wojciech Jasný, was filming a documentary there. I made this mistake that I was wandering around alone in these empty places and cells. And I came back with just horrible feelings of mainly fear and anxiety. Like, I didn't know why I was afraid at first, but then it kind of culminated into these terrifying visions and nightmares and thoughts. I was in a constant fear and anxiety, and I became really paranoid about that something might happen to me or my dear ones. And it was just really strange. I'm not going to go into too many details, but it was a strange period in which I was in a constant fear, and I had fear-based thoughts that I felt weren't even mine. It was like something really strange. It felt like there was something on me, but I couldn't understand what it was, because back then I had no experiences with these bad spirits. And Wojciech Jasný, this film director who filmed this documentary there, he called our home just as I was having one of my anxious episodes. And he was really intuitive and very spiritual person. I consider him one of my first spiritual mentors. And he called and he asked whether I was all right, because he had this intuition that something was going on with me. And so I described what was happening, and he told me, this must be that you attached some like evil spirits, because such places with such concentrated trauma, there are usually like really nasty earthbound spirits, or I mean even demonic entities like that feed on the fear that was left behind, on these like intense negative emotions and you know, this overall negativity there. So if a sensitive individual and very young and that is inexperienced in the spirit world and has these psychic gifts goes there, then it's like a clear thing that, you know, something gets attached. So he taught me how to work with the cross and do an exorcism, I would say, because he really told me to hold a symbol of the cross or imagine it or wear it on me, and just tell these entities which brought forth these like fear-based thoughts and feelings, just to banish them, to tell them basically to F off, you know, and with the power of the cross. And it worked so well. It worked magic. And since I've known this, I've been working with the cross to banish these unwanted energies. Whenever I, you know, find myself at the wrong place and maybe something gets attached, then I immediately like send it away with the power of the cross. And Wojciech back then, he told me that any type of cross will do, because they're all powerful, really ancient shields. And so I learned quite young that like symbols can be charged with intention and with this power of our higher self's sovereign intention of shielding ourselves and really like banishing all the negative entities, energies, whatever we don't want in our space. And later, when I started to study the runes, I discovered the power of the diagonal cross, and I realized the connection with the rune Gebo, which I mentioned in the slides. And the diagonal cross is a really powerful shield as well, and it has this extra like ability that it connects us to our spirit guides or to our mentors on the other side, or to benevolent deities that help us and protect us. So it brings about shielding, but also this connection to our helpers. And I had this experience once when I was wandering alone in the countryside, and I went to this one place, and suddenly I felt like it was something odd around me, and I instinctively like put my hands in this position of the diagonal cross in front of me. And I was like, wow, what am I doing? And I channeled one of my spirit guides, and he told me, yes, it's like instinctive reaction to the energy that was around you. There was some like earthbound spirit that I didn't want in my place. I didn't want to encounter him, because I only channel and connect to spirits that are benevolent, or that mean well, or that maybe need help, but that are like good and benevolent. So I didn't want this spirit, so I instinctively like did this protective gesture, let's say. And since then, like I've been working with the diagonal cross as well to achieve this powerful connection with my spirit guides, or with some benevolent spirit being, but also to banish the unwanted ones, like just to send them away. So these types of crosses have been in my life for a very long time, and I each time like something is happening that I don't feel comfortable in, I bring about their power. And I also like to wear it when I go into challenging situations, or to places that I maybe don't feel comfortable in, just to like remember to shield, because sometimes we forget, and I do this all the time, you know, like I'm sometimes wondering how come after all these years like of knowing this, I still forget like to do this protection. And then I'm surprised when I come home with some uncomfortable, either some spirit or some uncomfortable feelings, or just feelings of exhaustion. But in this video, I really just brushed over the basic meanings and the ways we can work with the cross and other sacred geometry symbols. So if you are interested to learn more, and if you want to delve deeper, please check out my new book. There's so much more information. It's called Sacred Geometry Symbols, How They Guide and Help Us.